Are you ready to get your financial picture in focus? Then give me a call at Clark's Financial Coaching at 803-736-3877. That's 803-736-3877. Or reach out to me by email at coachwestc@gmail.com. coachwestc@gmail.com.
This segment is sponsored by Wave Beach Realty, 843-957-3872. All right, guys, welcome back to the second segment of the show today. We're going to talk about Dollars and Cents Radio Show with Wes the Economist and Jonathan the Conspiracy Theorist. We're going to talk about tariffs today. So there was, we were trying to think of topics today, and I popped up my X feed, and I remember seeing a clip a while back about Kevin O'Leary. He was on CNN. I think he ended up being on Fox at one point too, talking about the same thing. But the clip I had was from CNN, and they were grilling him about tariffs because he was agreeing kind of with what Trump said, that we need to put tariffs on China. And apparently Kevin O'Leary does a lot of I don't know what businesses he's in these days, but he's got a lot of business with China.
Right.
And he was saying that we need a 400% tariff on China to reel them in, and we'll play the clip here in just a second. But what was interesting, obviously Kevin O'Leary's also on a show called Shark Tank, if you guys are familiar with that show or with him, and then Mark Cuban's also on that show. Well, Mark Cuban posted a tweet basically bashing what Kevin O'Leary was saying and saying that everything he said was wrong. So let's play the clip, and then I'll read what Mark Cuban said on Twitter or X, and then we can talk about it, because you're the economy guy. You tell me who's right, who's wrong, or if they're somewhere in the middle, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's get it.
Let's roll it. That one here. Okay, sounds good.
Let's get it.
Let's roll it.
I like the.
Sounds good.
Let's get it.
Let's roll. Roll it.
I like the idea of going to war with China with tariffs to change behavior.
But it didn't change behavior. All it did was hurt American companies.
Weak leadership that doesn't know how to implement.
This is the same leadership. It was Trump who
it
launched the trade
Biden,
war with.
Then it was Clinton saying, let's democratize China, let's show them democracy, and they'll play fair and they'll play fair.
But to Catherine's point,
it's time to raise tariffs on China to 400%.
Trump already raised tariffs on China.
Not enough.
There have been many studies showing that U.S. companies and consumers are the ones who bore the cost.
Academic study. I'm doing real business in China. I'm actually doing business there.
Yeah.
I'm actually working
American
there.
companies,
there's no academics in my company.
Where do you think they buy their inputs from?
Let me explain something to you.
From China.
The Chinese
It
steal
hurts
my
American
IP. They make the same product with the molds that I pay for there. They ship them into this country under a different brand. I don't like it anymore, and I've been trying to solve this for 30 years.
If you tariff everything from China at 60%,
there's no academic in my world.
You're going to be paying more for this stuff.
So, yeah, that's Kevin O'Leary talking about tariffs. Now, what Mark Cuban said back to him, I guess what Kevin O'Leary is really trying to stop is like knockoffs of his products being, because China's bad for knockoff products. So here's what Mark Cuban said, and then you can let me know your thoughts. So he tweeted, "Kevin, I love you, but you are dead wrong on tariffs. You want to stop knockoffs, which is a real problem, but you know you are wrong. Tariffs will cause the Chinese to knock you off more. They know your companies are having to pay the tariffs on the legit products, which makes it easier for their knockoffs to be sold for far less on Amazon and anywhere else. Let's do the math. Right now, the knockoffs sell for at least 25% less than branded versions. Guess what, Kevin? A 60% tariff on a lower price knockoff is less than the American company pays on their higher priced branded product. So a tariff makes it harder to compete with knockoffs. And if you think there can be tariff negotiations to end knockoff, that's laughable. You know from watches there are knockoffs everywhere. The gray market and the knockoff market won't be ended by any tariff negotiation. I know you know this, and I respect the performance on CNN, but let's make sure facts are in place." So, obviously, Mark Cuban is saying he's completely wrong about what he's saying. I don't know, because I don't know enough about tariffs to understand I know that it can be bad because it ends up taxing the American people, I believe.
Yeah, it does.
So I think Kevin's trying to put a high tariff on them because they'll immediately come and negotiate with us before any of it actually takes place. I think that's what he's trying to figure out. I think that's because I saw him on another interview and it made me think that's what he's trying to do. But anyway, based on what you heard versus Cuban's explanation of why he's completely wrong, what do you think?
Well, as I'm a free market economist, so I don't like tariffs. I'll tell you that right up front.
Yep.
Tariffs usually end up leading to higher prices and inefficiency. However, if you're not going to have tariffs, you've got to have free markets. And the issue with free markets is we let everybody come into the country and sell their stuff, but they don't let us do that with their country.
Right.
Think about China. We can't just go sell anything we want in China.
Right.
Because they have tariffs on us, and we follow. And going back to when Trump first started talking about this in 2017, I was like, oh no, not tariffs. And I thought that's just wrong. So I did some research, and it turns out that I knew the playing field was unequal, but it was a lot more unequal than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Literally, I read one article where we were following some kind of trade practice from the 1800s when China was obviously hardly even a country,
right,
as far as developed country for the modern civilization. So as he put tariffs in place, I did notice that he seemed to negotiate, and like everything, he uses things as a way to get to a better deal. And I do think it actually ended up helping us. Now, did we end up paying more for products? Yes. But we also had more jobs stay here, and we saw manufacturing jobs come back. I don't know if you've seen with what he's accusing China of doing with EV plants in Mexico.
No, I haven't seen. I mean, I've heard some of the stuff you're talking about with because Trump was actually talking about it on that Flagrant podcast too. Some of what you're talking about, but I haven't heard about the EV thing. What does he do? What are they?
Well, this is where that quote about there's going to be a bloodbath after the election.
Yeah,
that they take out of context.
Got it.
He was saying that the EV. They're trying to make EVs in Mexico and then import them from Mexico into the United States, and it's going to just devastate our industry here. Even though I don't think we should have an EV industry in the first place, but there's going to be the cars. One article I read said the cars could probably be a third of the price of the electric cars sold here in the United States.
Okay,
so it's going to completely knock. It would definitely hurt Tesla too, and Elon Musk.
Yep.
But the other issue is that means auto workers are going to lose their job.
Right.
And so he's trying to set it up where these people actually build their cars here instead of there.
Right.
So Cuban's right. These tariffs are going to lead China's stuff to be even more appealing because it's going to be even cheaper.
Right.
But if the effect is more stuff made here, the better off we'll be because we actually are self-sufficient.
Right. So
tariffs, and everybody probably knows what a tariff is because you probably studied American history, but there's actually two types of tariffs. One's a revenue tariff, and a lot of countries use revenue tariffs just to make money. And this is obviously not that. It's a protective tariff. A protective tariff means you're trying to protect some industry inside of your country, but there's also other reasons. You want to make sure that your military is self-sufficient. You know, we had a big problem with steel companies leaving our country a while back, and when Trump got in, he kind of turned that around a little bit.
Yeah.
But you think about it, if China ends up making all the steel, then who do we have to go to get steel? Obviously China.
Right.
Well, if our military needs all that steel, and you're dependent on one of the guys you think we may end up in war with, we're in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you want to make sure your military is self-sufficient. You want to make sure that you have enough products being made here that you also can be sufficient inside the country.
Right.
Again, COVID. We found out a lot of our medicine, our masks, our surgical gloves all come from China.
Yeah. And
we couldn't produce them here. That's very bad for us too. Other things that you do, put tariffs in places for infant industries. You want to get competitive on the open market. You want to protect against dumping of products, which China does do with a lot of these knockoffs. One thing Larry said, and I don't think people realize this, when you go over there and you want to build something over there, some of the prerequisites is you have to give them all the plans for building your stuff, and they build a plant specifically for you to make it, but then they also have the plans to that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they make these knockoffs and send them back in. That's what he was talking about.
Right.
Because you basically give them the right to do it because you gave them the plans because you're getting your stuff so cheap.
Yeah, makes sense.
And this actually, I mean, one main example was this with, I think it was Jamaica. It was a Caribbean island. Anyway, Dole came in, this was decades ago, and dumped bananas onto their market so cheaply that it ran all the plantations, banana plantations on the island out of business.
Oh, wow.
So you want to make sure you protect against dumping. And the last one is really about the labor, wanting to make sure that you protect domestic labor against cheap labor from other countries.
Right.
But you got to be careful. Everybody believes the Great Depression was caused by the great stock market crash in 1929. It really wasn't. We were actually after that drop, we really were coming out of it in 1930, and we passed a tariff on all the stuff coming into the country to quote unquote protect our employees.
Yeah.
Well, first thing everybody else did was pass tariffs against us.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up costing our production here in the United States because we were a big exporter at that point. And that's what really started the Great Depression in my mind. And we still would have come away from that if the government hadn't got involved with the New Deal.
Got it.
The New Deal is what caused the Depression. I'll say that till the day I die.
Yeah.
And I've studied that when I was getting my master's. I studied that segment of time. It is no doubt in my mind that the government caused it.
And that was Roosevelt that did the New Deal? Roosevelt
did the New Deal, but the Republican president before him actually started causing a lot of this. Hoover, I think it was.
Okay.
He was in the middle of all this too. So again, it wasn't just Republican Democrats.
Right, of course.
But,
yeah.
So tariffs are there to try to. That's why you would have tariffs in place. So again, as a free market economist, I don't like them.
Right.
But free market means free market on both sides. If we're not getting the same contracts from like China or Japan, then we've got to protect ourselves.
Got it. Yeah, Trump was on one of these podcasts recently, and he was talking about that with the auto industry. He was like, because he was asking the guy on the podcast, he's like, how many of American cars do you think they have in Germany? And they're like,
exactly.
And he was like, we have Mercedes here, we got all these. He's like, it's just it's so biased one way, and it needs to be fixed. Now you're saying the way to do that's not through tariffs, though.
No, well, tariff is a tool you can do that with. Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm not for them per se, but what Trump's talking about doing, I'm not against.
If you have a goal you're trying to accomplish that you can implement and accomplish that goal, it's
and I
fine,
think that's what Trump's doing. I don't think Trump will put 400% tariffs on China across the board.
Well, no, that's just Kevin.
That's Kevin O'Leary talking. But I do think he will use it to negotiate.
Yeah.
And you've heard him tell the story about the plane when he first got in office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, when he was talking to Elon.
Oh, yeah, it was Elon. That's right. And he got, what, $1.5 trillion cut off of it?
Or a billion. It was billions for sure, off the price of the plane. It was just like, which is just crazy.
I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So tariffs are not, in theory, a great thing, but if you use them and negotiate with them correctly, they can accomplish a goal that obviously needs to be fixed, because the trade deals seem like they're completely...
The best thing for both countries is something called comparative advantage. I won't get too deep into that, but the best thing for both countries for you to actually have free trade between both of you about everything. But the problem is that's not the real world.
Right.
So we economists love to live in our little fantasy world sometimes. Free markets, perfect competition doesn't exist, but we love to talk about it.
Yeah.
But the more competition, the better people are. And you take it all the way back to Adam Smith, who developed economics back in the 1700s.
Yeah.
People looking after their own self-interest actually make the full interest of the community better than if they were not.
Okay, well, it makes sense. It sounds bad on paper, but if you put it into play, I guess it actually pans out the right way.
I know we're out of time for this segment, but when everybody hears self-interest, they think of selfishness.
Right.
Two different things.
I know on paper, that's what I'm saying. It sounds bad, but
self-interest just means you're going to look out for yourself.
Right.
I mean, everybody does that.
Yeah.
Selfishness means you're trying to hurt other people.
Yeah, and if everybody's looking out for themselves and taking care of themselves first, it would put more back into society anyway.
Exactly.
So it ends up working out the right way.
That's the whole basis of free market economics.
Love it. Perfect. That was a great discussion on tariffs and
and that's from an academic who doesn't exist in Kevin O'Leary's world.
That's right. Yeah, he's not about academics.
I don't know. I can tell. Of course, I'm not your normal academic either.
Right.
The first time they hear this show in some of the colleges, they'll probably have me try to disbarred or something.
Right. Yeah. Right.
All right, you ready to take a break?
Yep. Let's do it. Hey guys, don't forget we go live every Saturday at 1 o'clock on 94.5 and 106.7, or you can stream us live at talkradiomb.com. Are you looking to buy a property in North or South Carolina and need financing? Call Motto Mortgage Coastal Pros today. They specialize in investment properties as well as condo-tels, DSCR loans, single family, and condo loans. If you're looking for competitive rates and you want to shop around and find the best rate for this market, Give us a call today, 843-957-3872, 843-957-3872.
If you like the economics part of the show, then check out my podcast, Econ Sense. You can find it on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts.